Wow. What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head. Man, my apologies for not putting out video for about a week. I was busy after WrestleMania. It was a whole lot of stuff going on here at the house. A couple of, do-it-yourself fixes and whatnot. But, man, I leave for a week and all this crazy news is coming up. And Kairi Sane, she set sail. It looks like the Motor City Machine Guns are going to AEW. Hey, Tony, you should probably pick up Rich Swann, team him with the Demand, and then do the Inner City Machine Guns against the Motor City Machine Guns on Collision or something. If you know, you know. But yeah, we've got a lot of releases. Pat McAfee threw in the towel. TKO has become the biggest heel in professional wrestling, and that's just the corporation that bought the WWE. Undertaker is killing it with AAA booking. It's like all kinds of crazy stuff is going on, and I'm not even here to talk about any of that stuff. I'm here to talk about Oba Femi, as Paul Heyman would put it, and we're going to talk about like where his next opponent lies. But we just lost 22 professional wrestlers from the WWE NXT roster, and I'll be honest, I don't really like to talk about releases on this channel. I think that it's just not something I'm cool with. I don't know if it's in poor taste. I don't know if it's something that I'm just not cool with. But, professional wrestling is very healthy right now. You got guys like Aleister Black with his wife, Selena Vega. They can show up in Juggalo Championship Wrestling and see what Russo's got cooking up for them. They can show up in MLW and challenge Killer Cross for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship. They can show up in House of Glory and still have a healthy, steady paycheck where every month they're doing a big show. Shout outs to Jason Solomonster and JD from NY, New York 206, and Master P. That's Master P is funding that company. And of course, shout out to Amazing Red. Freddie Prinze Jr., this is your opportunity, man. Freddie Prinze Jr., for those that know, Freddie Prinze Jr. was supposed to start. I swear to God, this is not what this video is about, but I've got to talk about this. Freddie Prinze Jr. wanted to have a promotion, and he wanted Killer Cross and Bray Wyatt to head up the promotion, right? RIP Bray Wyatt. Now, the Wyatt Six and Killer Cross are essentially about to be available together. I mean, the Wyatt Six probably have a 90-day non-compete. Aleister Black has some sort of relationship with all of them as well. It was supposed to be this Bray Wyatt universe that they were going to do. I've heard Karrion Kross talk about it, or Killer Cross talk about it. I've heard Bo Dallas speak about this multiverse of this world that Bray Wyatt was creating. And I believe the Righteous were a part of that too. And they've been floating around in TNA. I'm not sure if they're signed to a contract with TNA or what, but you can do a lot with those guys. Freddie Prinze, if you're listening, dog, holla. This is your opportunity right now to start a new wrestling promotion and really crush it. There is a lot of talent out there, and Tony Khan can't sign them all. There's an opportunity there. Billy Corgan can't sign them all. So you've got Billy Corgan with NWA. You've got Tony Khan with AEW. You've got Vince Russo and the Juggalos for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. There's a lot of places that you can go to flourish. I heard Lucha Underground is coming back. Lucha Underground. So, and they do episodic, kind of storytelling and whatnot. So they can do some stuff with Aleister Black for sure. They can do some stuff with the Wyatt Six for sure. Maybe they can do more with the Wyatt Six than the WWE ever thought possible. Respectfully. So, all respect is due to the future endeavors of these professional wrestlers. I think they're going to flourish. I see a lot of upside in them being let go, because anytime someone gets let go, they get a resurgence. They get more momentum, and they can come back bigger and better than ever. But the WWE does this every year. It should be as no surprise. The biggest surprise that I've seen on the internet has been the Kairi Sane thing. People were super shocked about it because she never got to finish the story. So people want to see her finish the story with Asuka. They want to see her tell Asuka no. And like the Ultimate Warrior did Sherry Martel. No. And then side with Io Sky. Now, here's the thing I always wanted. Obviously, there's really not a lot to tie in Asuka with Julia, to be honest with you, because they never really worked together in the same promotion. I think a lot of people think Asuka worked for Stardom. She never worked for Stardom. Never worked for Stardom. She went to the men's promotions and tried to fight the men, including Minoru Suzuki. If you know, you know. That's actually worth a Google in and of itself. That's an incredible story where a lot of people thought it was like a legit shoot that Minoru Suzuki beat the ever-living shit out of Asuka. So if you ever have the chance, look that up because it's a wild story. But Asuka was all about the attention. She was just trying to garner more attention, and it worked. So there's not really a whole lot of history that can tie that in. The only thing is that I'm sure Julia looked up to Asuka at a certain point in her trajectory into the top of Japan. So I think that if those two were to team, it doesn't take much to tie them together. And then you've got Asuka and Julia against Io and Kairi, and that would have been a great tag team match. The women's tag team division is going to need a lot of help once Charlotte Flair starts to become a single star again, which I think is inevitable at this point. But I swear to God, this is not what the video was going to be about. There's just so much to talk about, and I don't want to bombard you guys with too much videos. I know there's a lot out there, but here I am dropping out of the portal, and I want to talk about Oba Femi and who his opponent could be now that he has beaten Brock Lesnar. And there's a lot of rumor and innuendo about Brock not really having his final match and possibly going to SummerSlam to wrestle Gunther. I think that is something that they should probably reconsider at this point. Now, there's a lot, depending on who you listen to, there's a lot of talk about Brock Lesnar's retirement actually being something that wasn't planned. And I don't know if WWE decided to roll with that or not, but that's something that I think worked so well. And it was just so well done that they shouldn't have Brock Lesnar come back so soon and have another match against Gunther. Totally my opinion. I know that there's a lot of people that were hoping to see Gunther against Brock Lesnar dating all the way back to 2024, all right? So I know that there's a lot of people that want to see finality there, and I'm all for that. But I just think the way that Brock left was just so perfect. It was so chef's kiss. It was so Scott Keith, this was the best thing ever, Like, I think that they should probably just let the sleeping dog lie and let Brock go off into the sunset the way that he wanted to and leave it alone. Brock's not the guy that's going to kiss his family outside of the ring and have this whole big tribute for him. He's a mythical beast, He's just this guy that's in the shadows that comes out to just crush fools. And he got crushed. And the new monster is Oba Femi. So even if, let's just say, for instance, even if Gunther wrestles Brock Lesnar, it's not the same beast anymore. The beast was slayed. The beast is going to have an eye patch and like the little the little Band-Aids with the X across his forehead. Like, he's been beaten already. He's been slayed. The dragon has been slayed. He's going to come back not the same. So Gunther beats the leftovers. Gunther beats what's the scraps, Like, that's what it would see optically, is that this isn't the same Brock Lesnar because he lost in 4 minutes to a young, up-and-coming monster in Oba Femi. So let him do his thing. I don't know. That's just my opinion, Obviously, I would want to see Brock and Gunther for the type of match that it would be. And obviously, I like the idea of Gunther having Brock Lesnar on his list of careers that he has essentially killed, because he can't do that with Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, or Triple H, or Steve Austin, or The Rock. All of those would be great on his resume. So Brock is like the next best thing, pun firmly intended there. But yeah, we don't really need to see that match, I mean, maybe something in Saudi Arabia in a couple of years or something like that. And I know that Brock hasn't wrestled in Minnesota very much, and I think he's only had like 2 matches in Minnesota. So I know that would be a special thing, but we're done. It's over. Brock lost. Brock walked off. He left everything in the ring, and he did the right thing. He did the deed. He put someone over on his way out, no different than what AJ Styles did and John Cena did, and even Bill Goldberg did in a sense for Gunther. So this could also lead to something very interesting with Gunther and Oba Femi, because you have Gunther looking at Oba like, what do you think you are? You think you are the new career killer? I'm sorry, this bad accent, but Gunther can really essentially say that Oba tried to steal his thunder, and Oba can say that I'm the new career killer now. There's so much that you can do with that, and they can build that off into the summer. You don't really need to pull the trigger on Oba and Gunther. I would much rather see Oba go after Roman a lot sooner. But Roman is preoccupied now with the bloodline resurgence that has been going on. He is now on Raw, which is on Netflix. They're trading talent, almost unofficially back and forth here. And I see that Jacob is now on Raw as well. It looks like the MFTs are going to be potentially moving over to Raw as well. Some talent is going to be shifted over to SmackDown. And so with this kind of shuffling of the deck, I looked at the current WWE roster and I was trying to figure out who Oba could be facing next. And it wasn't an easy task because obviously you want Oba to continue that momentum of slaying beasts, of slaying monsters and giants and these big guys so that he can keep that kind of momentum going and he doesn't have to get shuffled to the side because he's working with Kit Wilson. And no disrespect to Rusev, but almost kind of like going back to Rusev because there's really nothing for him. And Rusev seems to be the most formidable opponent. I understand that can be really challenging for the WWE to keep Oba away from the main event and just keep him in the upper card until he's ready to have that match with Roman. Because that's a match that you don't want to happen at Backlash. Essentially, you don't want that at Clash in Italy. So you want that to be at a big event. That is a SummerSlam main event if I've ever heard of one. That's something that I don't even know if you would do it at Survivor Series, honestly. I mean, Royal Rumble would be huge if they did that. But this is WrestleMania, SummerSlam, or bust right here. I think it would be a very special Raw episode or a very special Saturday night's main event. I mean, imagine the eyes that they would get if they knew that Oba, the man that slayed the beast Brock Lesnar, battled one of Brock Lesnar's most formidable opponents, Roman Reigns, for the world title on Saturday night's main event. I mean, I think that everybody would tune in to see something like that. The charisma that they're both exuding right now would be huge. They both have peak charisma right now. Oba is riding a big wave, all confidence. He got the torch passed by getting the fist bump from The Undertaker. The torch passed again by beating Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns is at his peak right now. I mean, he's on fire. The way that he talks shit in the ring is like unlike anyone else in professional wrestling. His stamina, the way that he's able to carry a wrestling match, the way that he's able to effectively make you believe in his character, and because he believes in his character now more so than ever, because he's not talking about Fruity Pebbles or Suffer and Succotash or any of that shit. He's actually like in this character, and he believes in this character, and he also believes it being very successful for the WWE. So when you get those two heads that collide, this is like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, essentially. Roman being the Hulk Hogan and Oba being a more coherent Ultimate Warrior. That's the Ultimate Warrior thing. I don't know if I did a good job with that, but so I've got 5 potential opponents for Oba Femi that make sense, and we're going to run them down really, really quick. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time, and you guys in the comment section, you let me know if I left anybody out or if there's anybody else that you see potentially challenging Oba Femi until he gets that opportunity against Roman Reigns or until he steps in the ring against Gunther. So we're going to start with number 5, and I think this is the least likely, but definitely a possibility, or he wouldn't even be on the list, and that's Omos. Last we've seen of Omos, if you have the time with all the professional wrestling that we're being inundated with, Omos has been in AAA. He has been paired with El Hijo del Vikingo on the AAA brand. And Omos hasn't shown up in the WWE in a while. So Omos showing up and standing up and towering over Oba instantly makes this a must-see matchup. Now, maybe not a matchup that we see on a PLE, although I would like to see it on a PLE. Omos has wrestled Brock Lesnar. He has wrestled Braun Strowman. He can show himself to be formidable. He's a giant, and if you want to get Oba over as a giant killer, as a new monster in the WWE, then imagine him trying to hit the fall from grace on Omos. I mean, that would be huge. I mean, that's like something that you would see on video packages for decades to come once his rise to fame hits in totality. So Omos, I think, if he showed up and he got in the ring and stood face to face with, which wouldn't be possible because he just would tower over Oba, and Oba is no small guy at all. Okay. I think that would be a really good program to continue the momentum of Oba Femi. So Omos was on the list simply because he is that monster that is like lurking in the shadows waiting for an opportunity, and he sees a young guy that got one over on Brock Lesnar and he's trying to look to crush him. I mean, this is old school WWE booking, WWF booking, if we really want to go back in time, where you bring the giant in, where people go like, man, maybe this giant actually has the number on this new hero. And then the hero gets the victory eventually. You know, like I said, something that you wouldn't see headlining a PLE by any stretch of the imagination, but something that could work in elevating Oba in the meantime, in between time, before we get to these big money-making matches that are for sure on the horizon. Okay, so Omos is going to come in at number 5. Number 4. Solo Sikoa. Now, wait a second. Hear me out. Solo Sikoa has been trying to recruit Royce Keys. So vis-a-vis, Royce Keys eventually will have some sort of an interaction with Oba Femi. Now, Oba Femi and Royce Keys obviously on different brands, but they have kind of like softly cut this brand split. You know, at least the rules have been loosened a little bit, where there really isn't a reason why we wouldn't see a SmackDown star on Raw and a Raw star on SmackDown. So it is potential that we could see Royce and Oba even in a tag team to go against the MFTs. And who is on the MFTs that's a giant monster that has been treated as such and for the most part protected? Tala Tonga. So if Oba was to defeat Solo pretty decisively, then of course then you can go down the gamut, or even before he gets to Solo, he can go down the gamut, run the gamut against JC Mateo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and of course Hala Tala Tonga. And that's another match where you can see a fall from grace on Tala Tonga would be another big moment for Oba Femi. So I put Solo in the category, but of course he can run through the entire MFTs, and that will definitely keep him busy going into the summer and give him something to do in the meantime, in between time. And like there is by proxy a sort of connection between the MFTs and Roman Reigns along with the bloodline. So it's not like he's that far away from Roman that they wouldn't be able to tie that in some form or fashion. Imagine if Oba Femi and Roman Reigns clean the house of the MFTs, and then they're back to back with each other and their backs collide and they turn around and they go face to face. A huge moment to close out a Raw or even a SmackDown or even a PLE going forward. So something to keep in mind there that would also keep him busy and give him a gauntlet of opponents that he can run through to continue his monstrous rise to the top of the WWE. And number 3 is Logan Paul. The reason why I have Logan Paul listed is for the same reason that I had Solo Sikoa listed at number 4, which is you have Solo Sikoa and the MFTs, you have Logan Paul and the Vision. Eventually, Braun Breaker is going to step in the ring with Oba Femi, and that is money, because that's the future of the WWE. So you don't want to blow your wad on that, because you want a title involved. I'm sure they can have an exhibition. I'm sure that they can have a big match that ends in a no contest or disqualification or something like that. But Braun Breaker and Oba Femi, my God, man, that is a WrestleMania main event for years to come. They can have rematches and 3 and 4 and 5 match series for the next decade. And I'm not even kidding you. But there's one guy in the Vision that I think upon his return could present himself as a formidable opponent for Oba Femi, and that is Bronson Reed, Mr. Tsunami himself. a couple of tsunamis on Oba Femi, and that's the kryptonite for Oba Femi, like that could make Oba Femi look weak and like he can't handle the challenge with Bronson Reed. So if Bronson Reed came back and immediately asserted his dominance by attacking Oba Femi, that is something that could be really big for the WWE to generate interest, because the fans love Bronson Reed's tsunami, and it's been well protected in the WWE. So I did put Logan Paul there because Logan Paul could get himself into some trouble with his mouth, and Oba can come and shut him the fuck up. And then you've got guys like Austin Theory that he can run through on a Raw and then eventually get attacked by a Bronson Reed, a returning Bronson Reed. And through that program with Bronson Reed, you have Braun Breaker sitting there in the back staring a hole in Oba Femi and vice versa. So that's why I put him at number 3. And number 2 on the list, I'm going to cheat a little bit and do a slash. So sue me or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do Randy Orton / Drew McIntyre, because these are the matches where I don't necessarily see them having a long feud necessarily, but Drew's going to go off in film, so I don't know when Drew McIntyre is actually going to be coming back to the WWE, and the same with Randy Orton. I don't know if the back injury that he had that was being reported and discussed lengthily at WrestleMania is legit. So I don't know if Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre will be available, but either of those two guys can help generate heat on Oba Femi. I would be careful about pitting Oba with Randy Orton because of the popularity of Randy Orton. Randy Orton, and I understand that Cody Rhodes, his popularity started to wane a little bit because of the way that he's been positioned as this corporate golden boy, QB number 1 and whatnot. So I know that the fans were just more interested in hating on Cody Rhodes than they were of cheering on Randy Orton. But the fans definitely love Randy Orton, and they haven't changed his package. They haven't changed his music. They haven't changed his entrance very much since he's turned heel. So you can still kind of work your way into a situation where eventually they were to meet each other, maybe at a Saudi Arabia event or something like that. But I would be more interested in the Drew McIntyre scenario. And obviously Drew McIntyre is not going to come out on top in this program. However, I think that Drew can still maintain momentum, and he can still look strong in a match against Oba Femi. And there's a lot that you can do with that. So I put those two names in there because they're top names. It wouldn't be a lateral move to position Oba Femi against those guys because of their history as former world champions. And I think that they would kind of get the rub. They would give the rub pause to Oba Femi because the way that they carry themselves on the mic, the way that they can cut promos, a story that could be told could be very interesting there, including the punt kick from Randy Orton and Drew's penchant for backstage attacks and really trying to hurt his opponent, I think could work in the frame of Oba Femi as a formidable challenge. And for number 1, have you guys figured it out yet? If you look at the roster yourself, you can see there's not a whole lot. There's not a pick of the litter. You know what? Before we get to the number 1, I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit, and I'm going to say honorable mentions. Honorable mentions, you can definitely do something like Dominic Mysterio. You can do El Grande Americano. You can do, Rusev, obviously the aforementioned Rusev. You can bring Sheamus back and have him have some sort of a respect, or a passing of the torch with Oba Femi. You can do those types of things, but the number 1 option that I have is a debuting superstar in the WWE that makes total sense because of their history. And I'm talking about Ricky Saints. Ricky Saints actually has a victory over Oba Femi in NXT. He was able to defeat Oba Femi in NXT. So someone like Ricky Saints has a lot of like a big chip on his shoulder because Oba did defeat Brock Lesnar, but Ricky Saints can come in with a ton of momentum by saying, yeah, I beat Oba Femi. And I think that can also be an interesting program. It immediately gets Ricky Saints up to the mid to upper card by just sheer accomplishment of defeating Oba Femi at one point on WWE programming, by proxy with NXT. So obviously this isn't a popular number one. I know a lot of people are probably going to be interested in him wrestling, you know, like a Logan Paul or something along those lines, which I did put them on the list, but I think a Ricky Saints can be interesting. No one will see it coming. I think a lot of people feel like Ricky Saints is going to show up on SmackDown, but I think Oba Femi coming out and cutting a promo and Ricky Saints coming out and talking a bunch of mess, claiming that he has one win over Oba Femi, could also buy a lot of time for Oba Femi until he gets to the top of the card. Now, out of all of those lists, that was just, you know, it wasn't in a certain order. I was just kind of going 5-1 there. I do think Bronson Reed is the best opponent for Oba Femi. Hopefully he gets back soon. And then, of course, in the meantime, in between time, you can do Logan Paul or Solo Sikoa and whatnot. But I believe eventually you've got 3 top challengers for Oba Femi coming on the horizon. It is Gunther, it is Roman Reigns, and it is potentially Braun Breaker, but we got a long ways to go before we get to those 3 matches. You do not have to execute any of those matches right away. So in between time, you can have any of the people behind the group of like a Braun Breaker with the Vision or Solo with the MFTs that are connected in by blood to the bloodline and Roman Reigns and whatnot. And of course, you also have like a CM Punk that could come out and talk some mess with Oba Femi as well. Cody Rhodes can come out and talk some mess with Oba Femi. There's just a lot of different ways that you can go about this, but just having a placeholder there, someone that Oba can work with in the meantime as he's gaining more popularity. Omos and Ricky Saints and JC Mateo and Talatonga and all those guys are right there, pick of the litter. So that's my list. That's all I got, you guys. 22 people got let go. Everybody else seems to kind of have their own thing going on. Of course, you can do El Grande Americano. You can do Dominic Mysterio. Those guys are also available. Not necessarily something that I would see happening on a PLE or even a long storyline or a program or a feud and whatnot, but definitely opponents that can be used to get Oba more over than he already is. But my guesses are those 5, actually 6 if you count the slash that I did there. That's what I'm going with, but I would really love it. I would love it to see what your list would be and who you think Oba's first post Brock Lesnar retirement win opponent will be. And hopefully they have something at Backlash, because you really want to keep him out there into the public eye, and you want to make him a special attraction. So I don't know if you want to do an every month PLE type of a thing with Oba Femi, but getting off that match at WrestleMania, you really want to see him in a prime position in one of the 4 matches that are going to be at Backlash for sure. And I think any of those number of opponents that I just listed would be perfect opponents for him at Backlash. But please let me know what you think in the comments down in the comment section below, what you think of the list. And maybe if I left somebody out, you can let me know that as well. Guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening to this video. If you like this and more, hit the subscribe and the notifications bell, because you never know when I'll be dropping out of the portal of pro wrestling to talk about the current product and beyond. This is the Wrestling Old Head, you guys. See you in the next one.